Hello, Internet viewers. I'm the Fairly OddGamer. Even though we started the month off with a memorable game, I thought it'd be best to counteract by reviewing a good Mario spin-off game. With that said, let's talk about something I've never covered on this channel before, RPGs. What are they, you may ask?
Really peeved grandmas.
What's the matter with you? Why are you trying to kill a person? Don't you run from me!
But he's far too weak and pathetic.
That poor Canadian. Anyway, allow us to explain.
RPGs, also known as role-playing games, are games in which players can assume the roles of characters in a fictional setting, not of the acting type. Examples include the ever so popular Dungeons & Dragons and even the world of LARPing, or a live-action role-player. In the later years, these RPGs will be played electronically, on a computer like World of Warcraft or RuneScape. But the ones I know of come from video games such as Pokemon, Final Fantasy, Earthbound, and Kingdom Hearts among others. And yes, I'll get to that game eventually.
When it comes to video games, one of the most prolific names in RPGs is Japanese company Square Enix, formerly known as Squaresoft. Almost all of the biggest names in the genre come from them. Secret of Mana, Chrono Trigger, Dragon Quest, Nier, Kingdom Hearts, and of course, the Final Fantasy series were all products of Square Enix. So it only made sense that Nintendo would pick up on their success and partner on a project with them.
And non-surprisingly, the project in question had to involve a plumber, a kidnapped princess, a giant Koopa, a puff of white toad smoke, and even Pinocchio. I'm not kidding about the last one.
According to Nintendo Power, Gino was actually described by Square as Pinocchio.
And if you think that's weird, you're in for a fun ride. This is Super Mario RPG Legend of the Seven Stars.
However, for this review, I have good news and bad news. The bad news is there's no possible way to review the Super NES version, well, as of now, unless I have a Super NES Classic, but I don't have the time or money to get one. However, the good news, Nintendo released an HD remastered version for the Switch simply titled Super Mario RPG, and that's the version we'll be looking at for this review. Is this game any good despite the different genre? Let's find out.
Now, a lot happens in this game, so we're going to be powering through it, just for the sake of making sure this video isn't longer than all three Lord of the Rings movies combined.
Surprisingly, neither the logos for Nintendo nor Square are shown in the remake, unlike the original. Anyway, as Princess Peach enjoys life outside the Mario house, a sunny day turns dust and cloudy as Bowser no surprisingly swipes away Peach, taking her to his castle, for the gazillionth time.
And of course, this begins our long and arduous journey as Mario heads straight to Bowser's castle. That's actually kind of refreshing.
This could actually be the shortest RPG ever. You move Mario with the control stick in an isometric view, which I'm mostly not a big fan of, and running into an enemy quickly transitions you to that fighting style that Square is best known for. Each character is equipped with a regular attack with the A button, items that we'll discuss later with the X button, whatever the other option is with the B button, and your special abilities at the cost of flower points with the Y button. If you press A again quick enough, then you can perform a timed attack, therefore inflicting more damage. And whenever an enemy attacks you, then you can defend yourself by pressing A. But with frame-perfect timing, then you can take no damage at all with enemy attacks. You can't block every attack, but it does come in handy. Also, when battling enemies, you can even score some bonuses that could result in either refilling your health, increasing your stats, or allowing you to attack a second time with a said character. After defeating every enemy, you're then rewarded with experience points to help level up your party and coins, if any.
After fighting off some Koopas, Mario makes his way to Bowser's throne room where the big bad Koopa King himself has Peach hanging from the ceiling. Mario and Bowser proceed to battle atop the two chandeliers. Chandeliers. The trick is to not attack Bowser, but instead attack the Chain Chomp holding the chandelier. After enough hits, the Chomp lets go and Bowser falls.
Okay, not like that, but Mario defeats Bowser and saves Peach again.
And so, once again, the day is saved, all thanks to a giant sword. What's that doing here?
That, disembodied Powerpuff Girls narrator voice, is Exor, second in command to the actual antagonist of this adventure, Smithy.
Is his first name Alan?
No.
Aw, he make a nice film director.
So Mario gets flown to his one-bedroom house. Where does Luigi sleep?
Probably at his mansion somewhere.
And Toad finds him hanging on a clothing hook.
Mario, what are you doing?
Oh, you know, just hanging around. Boo! By the way, the remake allows the game to save automatically, whereas in the original Super Nintendo version, you have to save via these save blocks. But even if I had the original version, I would still save via save blocks.
So after Toad's lesson, Mario makes his way back to Bowser's Keep to find that it's been completely taken over by the Smithy gang.
Okay, I take back my shortest RPG ever statement. We're in for a ride here, folks. Be very afraid. Anyway, without any re-entry to the castle, Mario heads back home where Toad tells him to inform the Chancellor of the Mushroom Kingdom on what's been happening lately. By the way, this game features a map, while more to the likes of Donkey Kong Country, but also acts the same as Super Mario Bros. 3 and both Super Mario World games. There's also item boxes in the form of chests that contain coins or items like mushrooms, syrup, or even a Starman.
I am invincible!
Not only can you defeat enemies by touching them like before, but you can also get experience from it. The more experience you get, the quicker you get to leveling up. And speaking of which, leveling up a character increases his or her stat points, but you can also select a bonus whether it's enhancing your physical attacks, increasing your max health points or HP, or enhancing your magic ability or your special abilities as previously mentioned.
This is pretty much how you'll be playing the entire game. It sounds complicated, but compared to other RPGs at the time, like Final Fantasy VI for example, this is actually really simple. It's a good entry point for newcomers to the genre in all honesty.
Eventually, Mario makes it to the Mushroom Kingdom. It's here where we first encounter two key locations found in most of these worlds. First, there's the inn, allowing Mario to either stay in one of the rooms for no reason, or to help save the game. And finally, we have the shops. With the coins collected, you can use them to purchase extra character abilities and even items that help you during your adventure, like mushrooms for healing, honey syrup for replenishing your flower points, cleansing juice that helps replenish your team during battle, and finally there's pick-me-ups that let you revive a fallen ally. If you want this to be easier, then I suggest stocking as many pick-me-ups as possible, because trust us, you will need them. So Mario heads over to Peach's castle to find the Chancellor when suddenly... Do I dare know what it is?
Use your imagination. So then we meet up with the Chancellor.
Do it.
No, not that one. And Mario explains the situation via shapeshifting into other characters? What the heck?
However, it's here where he meets Mallow after being robbed by a small dinosaur. Oh, and he can't cry or a giant storm comes in. Okay, is this Mallow or Princess Elise? Actually, he's more of a water god that resembles a puff of smoke.
Well, according to him, he's a frog.
Then how come he can't jump? It kind of reminds me of Robin from the Muppets, a frog, or rather a prince-turned-frog, that can't swim.
Don't worry, we'll get there. That purple fellow, Croco, stole his grandfather's lucky coin, and clearly he needs help getting it back.
And as a result, Mallow becomes the first ally to join Mario in his quest.
I would make a book of the game reference from my part on the Holy Grail, but then we miss more of the important stuff.
Whenever Mallow's in battle, it's best to use him for offensive spells like Thunderbolt and eventually Shocker and Snowy. Think of him as your star mates throughout the early stages of the game. So a Toad caught sight of Croco zooming past him. Why didn't he stop him? Because the Toad left his bazooka at home.
How else would I kill the princess?
And Toad gives Mario a map. However, by choosing the map in the pause menu, you can actually fast travel to any previously visited area.
So Mario and Mallow chase Croco through Bandit's Way, which is littered with platforms and spinning flowers that make you jump really high. Eventually you catch Croco and battle him, taking back Mallow's grandpa's coin.
Also, with his weakness of fire, I just turned Croco into Spyro.
And then Mario steals Croco's wallet.
Are you sure that's his wallet? Just because the game said that Croco left a wallet doesn't necessarily mean it's his wallet.
Fair point.
He heads on back to the Mushroom Kingdom, and everything changed when the Shy Guy Nation attacked. Being free-spirited as young schoolgirls, bouncing on pogo sticks, the ultimate free-spirited device of all time.
Fear my whimsy!
But in actuality, these Shy Guys are led by the first boss of the game, Clay Morton, a small devil riding a pogo sword. The boss fight really isn't that hard, even with the pogo-riding Shy Guy bodyguards. Defeating him earns you coins aplenty as Mario finds the first of only 7 Chaos Emeralds, stars.
Actually, that's not a bad idea for my next new game.
If it's not Sonic Adventure 3, I'm not interested. After rescuing the Chancellor, Mallow suggests that the party head to Tadpole Pond to visit his grandfather, because he knows everything!
But before doing so, they have to make a quick stop at the Kero sewers, which leads to Tadpole Pond. But beware of the Balloon, a 4-horned monster with literally 4 eyes that likes to eat everything. Defeating it pushes the gang via waterfall to the Midas River as they finally arrive at Tadpole Pond. With the trail of tadpoles, we then meet Mallow's grandfather, the Frog Sage, or as he's known in the original version, Frog Fuchsius. Not only did the shockwave fly off Mario, Peach, and Bowser to different areas, but we also find out that Mallow is not a tadpole. And apparently was given the Moses treatment at birth, as well as Superman and Tarzan. But the point is that Mario now also has to help find Mallow's real family. The Frog Sage tells him to go to Rose Town, and that's where they head off to next. Right after Bowser's pep talk with his minions of Goombas, Shell Koopas, and Magic Koopas. In Rose Town, falling arrows! Okay, they're not lethal, but I can still immobilize those upon impact.
After arriving in Rosetown, Mario finds a Toad kid named Gaz playing with his Mario toys and a Pinocchio-like doll called Gino. That night, a star comes down from the sky and takes control of Gino, who wanders off. Mario and Mallow follow Gino into the forest maze, and that's where they find the one behind the arrow attack, Bowyer, an arrow-shooting monster who speaks in Yoda-ese.
Happy I am! The fight against Bowyer is alright. That is until he adds the lock button commands later in the fight. Meaning if an arrow hits a button, then it'll be locked for a certain amount of turns.
Thankfully, Gino joins you for this battle, and if you're playing the remake at least, grants you access to triple moves, where all 3 party members team up to launch a devastating blow. It's a big help when dealing with bosses, trust me. On top of that, Gino is a powerhouse. With proper timing, his specials can do massive damage.
And in some cases, he can increase a character's attack and defense via Gino boosts. That's he uses for physical characters like Mario and Bowser, but we'll get to him later. Anyway, they collect a second star, and Gino now joins the team. Oh, and Pipeball takes you to Yoster Isle, or the rap version of Yoshi's Island.
So now we know that our mission is to find all 7 stars and fix the Star Road, thanks to Gino. The remainder of the adventure pretty much revolves around that.
A lot happens, more than we can reasonably cover in a timely manner, but here are some of the highlights.
A trip to Moleville leads Mario to an underground cave with bombs, Croco again, Punchinello who never punches, and a minecart sequence turned roller coaster. Then a trip to Booster Pass leads Mario to Booster Tower where he finds Bowser, who then joins the party. I want to briefly point out that at this point, you can switch party members during battle, with the exception of Mario. Plus, Bowser has the highest attack stats, giving him pure strength, so it's best to use him for strong physical attacks, as well as help from his minions if needed.
As well as Princess Peach, big shock, captured by this Wario-looking dude named Booster, and Mario and Bowser team up to save her.
After Bowser bursts the door open via shell, Mario eventually finds Booster, rehearsing for his wedding with Peach, predating Bowser by goodness knows how many years. Shot to the side of Mario, it results in a long hill chase while avoiding barrels and incoming snifters all the way to Marrymore. Sneaking to the church via the back door, like Bowser's castle in Super Mario World, both Bowser and Mario literally crash the so-called wedding.
Which results in...
And don't worry, another video game character will experience a complete role reversal 10 years later.
Please, don't mention it.
Which then leads to a boss fight against a giant cake. Please tell me that GLaDOS is responsible for this.
I'd prefer it if it was Pinkie Pie.
I'm so nervous.
They return to the Mushroom Kingdom as Peach becomes the final member of the party. Hooray! Even though Peach is more of a mage, it's best to use Peach for healing purposes, whether it's an individual member or the entire party in general. Back at Tadpole Pond, the frog stage caught sight of another star in Star Hill, fittingly enough, which is where they head to next. And look at that! There's a star just sitting there. He's right. Again.
I guess you could say we found that...
Whoa! Watch it there, gamer.
Ugh. I guess you could say we found that 4th star piece.
Phew, that was close.
Sucks having to be family friendly, doesn't it?
No.
After that, the party makes their way to Seaside Town where they find out there's a star in a sunken pirate ship. After fighting a ton of fish, ghosts, and a giant blooper, they find themselves face to face with a ruthless shark pirate, Jonathan Jones.
Though some call it Johnny.
After beating Johnny, he gives Mario and the gang the star as a badge of honor.
But before moving on, one of the elders holds a shop filled with any kind of bomb imaginable. And by the way, this is the only time you're given access to this shop. Why? Because the elder is actually Smithy gang member Spiritovich, disguised as a toad. While Spiritovich does take the star from Mario, he then gets stopped by Johnny, resulting in a boss fight against Spiritovich with lightning enclosing itself. And of course, defeating Spiritovich earns you the star back. However, the real elder tells Mario that he found a star in Monstro Town at the far side of Land's End, their next destination. Wait a minute, Monstro Town? Is the ruler of the town a giant whale that one time swallowed Pinocchio's father?
Actually, it's where we find Below-Me Temple, home to this weird cat-looking thing named Below-Me, whom of course we have to fight, for a second time.
But a climb of paratroopers takes Mario to Beam Valley, where a flying Shy Guy waters a 3-headed piranha plant, literally named
Smiley.
blocking a warp pipe that leads to a giant beanstalk to the clouds that lead to multiple beanstalks for Mario to climb. And this is one of the reasons why I don't like playing games in an isometric view. Moving around Mario in this view can get disorienting. Yeah, I know Sonic 3D Blast did the same thing around the same time. I personally thought that game was okay, but having to jump from one beanstalk to another while trying to avoid any battle, that's an entirely different story.
If you do manage to navigate this game's platforming without pulling your hair out, you arrive in Nimbus Land, where...
Valentina's a spoiled brat with an overweight dodo bird as a pet!
Yeah, through some expert-level manipulation tactics, Valentina has seized control of Nimbus Land's throne.
Allow me to describe these two in one short clip.
Liar!
It's not until we meet the sculptor Garo where we find out that Mallow is actually the prince of Nimbus Land. And based on his childhood, wouldn't that make him a frog prince? Oh, come on, if I didn't make that joke, I'm sure 100 people would. Disguised as a golden statue, Mario enters the castle as his gold disguise wears off. But hey, at least Birdo makes a return from Super Mario Bros. 2 USA. Also, I defeated Dodo via Starman. Only to find out that Dodo comes back in battle with Valentina, who then reveals how much of a fake she really is. But before fighting Valentina, Dodo swoops Bowser away in a one-on-one battle until Dodo gives up. Meanwhile, the others fight Valentina as Bowser and Dodo return for a giant 3-on-2 battle, until Valentina and Dodo run away like the cowards they are. Oh, and she drops the key that lands on Mallow's head, resulting in Mallow finally reuniting with his parents. And before I move on, it's at this point where I managed to get, in my opinion, the best weapon and armor in the entire game, the Lazy Shell. After getting the seed and fertilizer, take them both to the gardener at Rosetown as he plants a beanstalk that leads you to retrieving said items. My suggestion would be to give the Lazy Shell weapon to Mario and the Lazy Shell armor to Peach, making her more of a tank.
After returning Nimbus Land to its rightful owners, Mario and the gang make their way
to the hot springs where you can replenish your health as he literally jumps off a cloud,
and then they fall down into Barrel Volcano, where they encounter the Czar Dragon, a massive, fiery beast with 2 phases, the second of which is far more terrifying than the first. And at last, Mario retrieves star number 6.
Only to be snatched away by a knockoff Power Ranger group called the Axem Rangers.
Go, go, Axem Rangers!
I think the gray one stole Proto Man's shades.
They try to escape via their ship, the Blade, but are then interrupted by the Mario Party and eventually defeat said Axem Rangers, resulting in the Blade falling with explosions and the retrieval of the second to last star. So where could the last star piece be? Why in Bowser's Keep, of course, as they make their way via Cloud Bus.
With that, it's time for the gang to head back to Bowser's Keep and get that final star.
Not so fast, Shadow. Because of the location, it's best to have Bowser with you whenever in battle because any of his minions can simply run away. They wouldn't want to fight off their own leader, right? Oh, and remember Croco? Apparently he can now help you by giving you items necessary for your journey's end. Then 6 doors lay before you. 2 are platforming, 2 are battles, and 2 are puzzle solving. Completing 4 of them allows the game to fight Wizardkoopa under Smithy's control, who is then defeated by our heroes. As a result, Wizardkoopa can allow you to get as many coins as you want, as well as any extra items needed via Croco.
After that, the gang ends up back in Bowser's throne room, where they fight another of Smithy's higher-ups, Boomer, in the exact same setup that Mario fought Bowser in at the beginning. Once he's down, you fight against Exor.
In case you forgot, it's a giant sword that stabbed Bowser's castle in the beginning of the game. Exor's only protection are his eyes and mouth, making it a very difficult fight. Surprisingly enough, I actually managed to defeat Exor with Gino's Whirl ability, inflicting 9,999 damage on Exor. And guess what?
It's not over yet.
It turns out that Exor also acts as a portal to Smithy's world. After defeating a clock called Countdown, Domino and Cloaker with a giant snake, they enter the heart of Smithy's world, a factory.
And this factory will not go easy on you. What lies ahead is a veritable gauntlet of not only some of the most powerful enemies in the game, but a ton of bosses, all of whom are bigwigs in Smithy's weapon building operation here. Just keep your chin up and use your items and skills wisely and you'll make it.
Eventually they'll run into the final boss of the game, Smithy. And yes, it's as long and difficult as any other RPG final boss, with 2 stages. While the first stage has you defeat Smithy with metallic versions of enemies and a smolter, it's the second and final stage of the boss fight that makes it even more difficult than it needs to be. In his true form, he can use his hammer to mold his head into a tank, a wizard, a chest, and even a coffin. For this fight, I prefer having Peach and Gino alongside Mario by means of stat boost as well as healing. Also, it's best to use every offensive item imaginable, like bombs and whatnot, in addition to your physical attacks and magic spells. Eventually, after around 40 minutes, Smithy is finally defeated as Mario and his gang retrieve the final star and therefore fix the Star Road. But with Gino's quest completed, he unfortunately turns back into a lifeless wooden doll.
Goodbye, Gino. You may never appear in a game after this. No, I'm not counting that. but we will hold you close in our hearts like a treasured friend.
And everything is back to normal. And look, Booster gets to marry Valentina with Dodo as the priest.
They deserve each other.
The game ends with a giant parade, and everyone lives happily ever after. The end.
I feel like we've forgotten something.
What? Is this an RPG? They used to take forever anyway.
Ain't that the truth? RPGs really are not my thing.
Actually, you do bring up a good point. There actually is something we forgot to mention. The post-game play.
In addition to getting a stay voucher, making your way back to Monster Town results in a hidden boss fight called Kulex. If you're good enough, you can actually beat him in 3 turns. And while we're at it, why don't we talk about the game's music?
Super Mario RPG's soundtrack was composed by Yoko Shimomura, who's also done music for Final Fantasy XV as well as the Kingdom Hearts series. Her compositions are some of the best tunes in Mario history, not only managing to capture the atmosphere of each area perfectly, but also managing to be catchy as all get out. Seriously, she's a genius. I think that just about covers everything. What are your final thoughts, gamer?
I have to say that for an RPG game, it's actually not that bad.
I'm not much of an RPG fan, knowing that most of them take longer than necessary. However, in the case of this game, it's actually pretty short in terms of length. While it did take me a total of 15 hours to beat this game, you can still beat it in a whole weekend if you're dedicated enough. Graphically, it's about what I expect in an HD remaster. Enhanced 3D graphics with incredible model quality. And yeah, I know the original version on the Super NES was more of an experimentation, so I'll give it some slack. When it comes to the gameplay, it's also what I expect for a turn-based RPG. Each character does its job pretty well, and I think it's a good way to get newcomers into RPGs, or rather the basics of it. But again, I'm not that keen with the isometric view, especially for a game that now has full 3D qualities and capabilities like, say, rotating the camera if need be. The music is great to listen to, and my overall experience with it was tedious at first, but at least I had some fun with it. Overall, Super Mario RPG is a fantastic game, and I recommend it to anyone that wants to get into RPG gaming. Even though it's not available for Virtual Console anymore, and getting a Super NES Classic can have a hefty price tag, I think the remake is a good way to help suffice that. Give it a try when you get a chance.
Even as someone who really isn't that into RPGs, I can't deny, Super Mario RPG is one of the best games of its kind. The writing, story, and presentation are packed to the brim with charm, which I believe can win over even the most cynical RPG hater. The combat system puts it a league above other RPGs too, in my opinion. Square found a way to make turn-based content more engaging for Mario fans who probably wanted a little more action, and it paid off wonderfully. So wonderfully that pretty much every Mario RPG going forward would look to this game for inspiration. I recommend the Switch version over the original because of the quality of life enhancements, but I think you'll have a good time regardless which version you pick. It's not perfect, and I don't know if I ever see myself playing it again, but there's a reason generations of Mario fans remember this game so fondly, and I'm happy that a whole new generation gets to as well.
You know, after playing a game like this, I feel like I need some rest. For RPGs, that is.
Plus, I want to go back to the mainstream Mario games that he is best known for.
So next time we meet, we're going to look at some of the 3D Mario mainstream games. I'm the Fairly OddGamer, and I wish you all good luck for the rest of your day or night, wherever you are. Take care, everyone.
Hey everyone, it's Sonic again, reminding you to support the channel on Patreon. In addition to exclusive access to Discord and extra bonus features, but your name will also be seen right next to me, like Luke Jeffers. Thanks for watching the video, supporting the channel, and possibly giving me an idea for a future game.